Across the United States, a disturbing and targeted wave of exclusion is sweeping through communities, affecting people from all walks of life. In cities large and small, individuals and groups are finding themselves pushed to the margins, often because of their race, religion, immigration status, or beliefs. This exclusion is not always obvious. Sometimes it's subtle, woven into policies, social interactions, or even the design of public spaces. But its impact is profound, leaving many feeling isolated, unwelcome, and unheard. As we look closer, we see the effects ripple through neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces, challenging the very ideals of diversity and inclusion that America aspires to uphold. The question remains: how will we respond? Fueled by incendiary political rhetoric that has been echoing through city halls, news broadcasts, and social media feeds, a wave of tension is sweeping across communities. Politicians, eager to score points with their base, have been using divisive language that singles out immigrant groups, particularly those from Trinidad and Tobago. Their speeches, often laced with subtle, and sometimes not so subtle undertones, have stoked fears and suspicions among local residents. These words, amplified by viral clips and heated debates, have created an atmosphere where misinformation and resentment can thrive. At the same time, local economic anxiety is running high. In many neighborhoods, the sight of empty storefronts and shuttered businesses has become all too common. Small business owners, many of whom are immigrants themselves, are struggling to keep their doors open amid rising costs and dwindling customers. For Trinidadian American families, these challenges are compounded by a growing sense of unease. In at least 20 United States cities, organized efforts have emerged, sometimes in the form of boycotts, sometimes as coordinated campaigns of intimidation, aimed at pressuring, isolating, and ultimately forcing out Trinidadian residents and business owners. These efforts are not always overt. Sometimes they take the form of whispered rumors, exclusion from community events, or sudden drops in business. But the impact is unmistakable. Families who have called these neighborhoods home for years now find themselves targeted and unwelcome. The crisis is not just about economics or politics, it's about the fabric of community itself, and the struggle to hold on to belonging in the face of mounting hostility. This is a grassroots crisis with national implications. Across the United States, a troubling pattern is emerging, one that is quietly but powerfully reshaping the lives of Trinidadian Americans. In city after city, reports of harassment, discriminatory ordinances, and community-led boycotts are on the rise. These are not isolated incidents, but rather a growing movement that is creating an environment where many Trinidadians no longer feel safe or welcome. The sense of belonging that once defined these communities is being eroded, replaced by fear, uncertainty, and a constant sense of vigilance. For many, the American dream is slipping further out of reach, replaced by the harsh reality of exclusion and marginalization. In this chapter, we take a closer look at 20 cities where these challenges are most acute, where the daily lives of Trinidadian Americans are shaped by forces beyond their control, and where the struggle for acceptance and equality is more urgent than ever. Our journey begins in the Sada de Miami Forest of Bachi Side 9, our Trinidadian Barchidor Dana Mines, a city known for its vibrant diversity and bustling economy, but beneath the surface tensions are simmering. Trinidadian Americans, many of whom have built successful businesses in the transportation and hospitality sectors, are increasingly seen as economic competitors. Taxi drivers at the airport face subtle but persistent discrimination, while Trinidadian-owned restaurants and hotels report being targeted by unfair inspections and licensing delays. In business meetings, the atmosphere is often tense, with local officials and competitors questioning the legitimacy of Trinidadian enterprises. The result is a climate of suspicion and hostility, where hard work and ambition are met with resistance rather than opportunity. Just up the coast in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the challenges take a different form. Here, Trinidadian families living in multi-family homes are finding themselves under increasing scrutiny from city officials. Code enforcement officers make frequent visits, often citing minor infractions as grounds for hefty fines or even eviction. Notices appear on doors with alarming regularity, creating a sense of instability and fear. For many, these targeted inspections feel less like a matter of public safety and more like an attempt to drive them out of the neighborhood. The message is clear: you are not welcome here. In Brooklyn, New York, the struggle is centered around cultural spaces and the rising cost of living. The borough has long been a hub for Caribbean culture, with Trinidadian shops, restaurants, and community centers serving as vital gathering places. But as rents soar and gentrification accelerates, these spaces are under threat. Protests erupt over the loss of affordable housing and the displacement of long-standing residents. Trinidadian cultural events, once celebrated, now face opposition from newcomers who see them as disruptive. The fight to preserve identity and community is becoming a daily battle, with no easy solutions in sight. In Laurel, Maryland, Trinidadian-owned businesses are feeling the squeeze. Contractors and landscapers, many of whom have served the community for years, are suddenly facing new regulations and increased competition. City officials have begun to scrutinize business licenses and work permits more closely, often singling out Trinidadian entrepreneurs for audits and inspections. At construction sites, Trinidadian workers report being passed over for promotions or laid off without explanation. The pressure is mounting, and many are left wondering if their hard-earned livelihoods are at risk. In Miramar, Florida, the focus has shifted to issues of language and community density. Campaigns against overcrowding have led to stricter enforcement of housing codes, disproportionately affecting Trinidadian families who often live in multi-generational households. Meanwhile, grocery stores and other businesses with non-English signage are being targeted by new ordinances, forcing owners to change their storefronts or face fines. At city council meetings, debates over these policies are heated, with some residents openly expressing their desire to limit the presence of Caribbean immigrants. The result is a community divided, where Trinidadians are made to feel like outsiders in their own neighborhoods. Houston, Texas, presents a different set of challenges. Here, the energy sector is a major employer, and Trinidadian professionals have made significant contributions to the industry. Yet, reports of job discrimination and social exclusion are on the rise. Networking events that were once open and inclusive are now marked by subtle barriers, unspoken rules about who belongs and who does not. Trinidadian workers find themselves passed over for promotions or excluded from key projects, despite their qualifications and experience. The message is implicit, but unmistakable. Advancement is reserved for others. In Atlanta, Georgia, zoning disputes have become a flashpoint for conflict. Trinidadian-owned restaurants and bars, which serve as important cultural hubs, are increasingly targeted by complaints and restrictive zoning laws. City hall meetings are filled with heated debates, as some residents push for regulations that would limit the number of Caribbean establishments in certain neighborhoods. Restaurant owners describe a constant struggle to keep their doors open, facing not only economic challenges but also a sense of being unwelcome. The fight for survival is as much about preserving culture as it is about running a business. Orlando, Florida is a city built on tourism, and Trinidadian workers have long played a vital role in the industry. But when economic downturns hit, immigrants are often the first to be blamed. Protests erupt, with some residents accusing Trinidadians of taking jobs or driving down wages. Hotels and resorts, once bustling with activity, now stand empty, and workers face layoffs and reduced hours. The scapegoating is both overt and insidious, creating an atmosphere of fear and resentment that lingers long after the protests have ended. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the battleground is the neighborhood association. Bylaws that were once intended to promote safety and community cohesion are now being weaponized against Trinidadian families. Homeowners associations impose arbitrary rules and fines, targeting everything from lawn decorations to the number of cars parked in a driveway. Meetings are tense, with some members openly expressing their desire to preserve the character of the neighborhood, a thinly veiled reference to keeping out Caribbean immigrants. For Trinidadian families, the message is clear: you are not part of this community. Charlotte, North Carolina, is home to a growing number of Trinidadian entrepreneurs, but access to capital remains a significant barrier. Banks and lending institutions routinely deny loan applications from Trinidadian-owned businesses, citing vague concerns about creditworthiness or business viability. Entrepreneurs describe a frustrating cycle of rejection, where their efforts to build and expand are stymied at every turn. The result is a business community that is vibrant but vulnerable, constantly at risk of being undermined by systemic discrimination. In the Washington, D.C. metro area, the exclusion takes a more subtle form. Trinidadian subcontractors and business owners find themselves shut out of local networks, unable to secure contracts or participate in key projects. Networking events are often closed to outsiders, and established firms are reluctant to partner with Trinidadian businesses. The barriers are not always explicit, but the effect is the same: a sense of isolation and frustration as opportunities slip away and the promise of economic mobility remains unfulfilled. Hartford, Connecticut, is known as the insurance capital of the world, but for Trinidadian professionals, it can feel like a fortress. Reports of professional isolation are common, with Trinidadian workers describing a lack of mentorship, limited opportunities for advancement, and a pervasive sense of being outsiders. In corporate environments, subtle forms of exclusion, being left out of meetings, overlooked for promotions, or assigned less desirable projects, take a heavy toll. The result is a workforce that is talented but underutilized, and a community that feels increasingly disconnected from the city's economic life. In Columbus, Ohio, the focus is on business licenses. Calls to audit and revoke the licenses of Trinidadian-owned businesses have become more frequent, often based on flimsy or unfounded complaints. City council meetings are marked by heated debates, with some officials pushing for stricter regulations that would disproportionately affect Caribbean entrepreneurs. For shop owners, the threat of losing their livelihood is ever present, and many are forced to close their doors or relocate in search of a more welcoming environment. Dallas, Texas is grappling with a new and insidious form of discrimination. Social media campaigns designed to incite hostility against Trinidadian residents. Online forums and local Facebook groups are filled with inflammatory posts, spreading rumors and misinformation about the Caribbean community. Families report receiving hostile messages and threats, both online and in person. Community forums are held to address the issue, but the damage is already done. Trust is eroded and the sense of safety that once defined these neighborhoods is gone. In Baltimore, Maryland, policing disparities are a daily reality for Trinidadian drivers. Reports of targeted traffic stops and aggressive questioning are common, with many feeling that they are singled out because of their accent or appearance. Increased police presence in certain neighborhoods only adds to the sense of unease, as residents worry about being stopped or harassed on their way to work or school. The cumulative effect is a community that feels under siege, constantly on guard against the next encounter with law enforcement. Tampa, Florida, has long been a center for Caribbean culture, with vibrant festivals and events that celebrate the rich heritage of the Trinidadian community. But in recent years, organized opposition has grown. Protesters disrupt festivals, citing noise and traffic concerns, while city officials impose new restrictions on permits and event spaces. Musicians and organizers describe a constant battle to keep their traditions alive, facing not only logistical challenges, but also a growing sense of hostility from some segments of the community. The result is a cultural landscape that feels increasingly precarious, where the future of Caribbean festivals is uncertain. In Stone Mountain, Georgia, the threat is more direct. Community centers and places of worship serving the Trinidadian community have been targeted by acts of vandalism, from broken windows to graffiti and property damage. Police investigations are ongoing, but many residents feel that not enough is being done to protect their spaces. The attacks are not just physical, they are symbolic, sending a clear message that Trinidadians are not welcome. For many, the sense of safety and sanctuary that these spaces once provided has been shattered. Uniondale, New York, is experiencing tensions within its school system. School board meetings have become battlegrounds, with heated debates over curriculum, resources, and representation. Trinidadian parents advocate for greater inclusion and support for their children, but face resistance from some board members and community groups. Protests outside schools highlight the deep divisions, as families fight for equal access to education and a voice in the decisions that affect their children's futures. The struggle is not just about academics, it is about dignity, respect, and the right to belong. In Antioch, Tennessee, exclusion takes a stark and unmistakable form. Signs reading, "Not for sale to Caribbean buyers," have appeared in front of suburban homes, sending a chilling message to Trinidadian families seeking to put down roots. Real estate agents report being pressured by homeowners associations to steer Caribbean buyers away from certain neighborhoods. For families looking to buy their first home, the dream of homeownership is tainted by the reality of discrimination and exclusion. The message is as clear as it is painful. You are not wanted here. And finally, in Springfield, Massachusetts, landlord associations have begun refusing to renew leases for Trinidadian tenants, often without explanation. Families are forced to pack up and leave on short notice, scrambling to find new housing in an increasingly hostile market. Meetings between landlords and tenants are tense, with little recourse for those affected. The result is a community in flux, where stability and security are constantly under threat. For Trinidadian Americans in these 20 cities, the challenges are many and the obstacles are great. But even in the face of exclusion and adversity, the spirit of resilience endures, a testament to the strength and determination of a community that refuses to be defined by the forces that seek to divide it. What's happening here isn't written into any law or posted on any official notice board. There's no government order, no city ordinance, and no formal declaration. Instead, what we're witnessing is something far more insidious, a chilling social contagion of xenophobia, spreading quietly from neighbor to neighbor, conversation to conversation, until it seeps into the very fabric of daily life. It's a phenomenon that doesn't need a leader or a manifesto. It thrives on whispers, on sideways glances, on the subtle but unmistakable signals that some people simply don't belong. In these moments, the boundaries of community are redrawn, not with ink or legislation, but with suspicion and exclusion. The consequences are heartbreakingly real. Families who have spent decades building their lives here, raising children, starting businesses, celebrating milestones, suddenly find themselves on the outside looking in. The warmth and familiarity of home is replaced by a cold sense of alienation. These are families who have contributed to the community in countless ways, yet now they're made to feel like strangers in the very neighborhoods they helped shape. The pain is not just in the act of leaving, but in the realization that the place they called home has turned its back on them. It's a slow, quiet unraveling of belonging, as if the ground beneath their feet is shifting, making it impossible to stay rooted. The result is a silent, coordinated push, one that doesn't need to be spoken aloud, to erase the presence of these families from the community. Storefronts that once bustled with life now stand empty. Cultural events that once drew crowds now struggle to fill seats. The vibrancy and diversity that made these neighborhoods unique begin to fade, replaced by a quiet uniformity. It's not just the loss of people, but the erasure of stories, traditions, and dreams. This is the true cost of social contagion, a community diminished, not by official decree, but by the slow, steady spread of fear and exclusion. This is a humanitarian alert, and your action is urgently needed. The situation we are witnessing is not just a distant headline, it is a reality affecting real people, families, and communities right now. By sharing this video, you become a vital link in a chain of awareness and support. Please, take a moment to post this video on every platform you use: Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, and even your local community boards. Every share increases the chances that someone who can help will see it. The diaspora and allies around the world need to be informed so they can offer support, amplify these voices, and help document these injustices for the world to see. Your network is powerful. Friends, family, colleagues, and neighbors may have resources or connections that can make a difference. Don't underestimate the impact of your actions. Share this video, start conversations, and encourage others to do the same. Together, we can shine a light on these urgent issues, mobilize support, and ensure that those affected are not forgotten. Your voice matters. Use it now. In today's rapidly changing world, staying informed is more important than ever. The forces that shape and sometimes divide our communities are complex, and understanding them requires access to reliable, trustworthy reporting. By subscribing to this channel, you're taking an active step toward being part of a well-informed community, one that values truth, context, and thoughtful discussion. When you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell, you ensure that you never miss an update on the stories that matter most. These notifications are your direct link to in-depth analysis, breaking news, and expert perspectives that can help you make sense of the issues affecting your neighborhood, your city, and the world at large. But being informed isn't just about what you know, it's also about what you share. By sharing this urgent report with your friends, family, and social networks, you help spread awareness and spark important conversations. Together, we can build bridges of understanding and work towards solutions that benefit everyone. So, don't just watch, get involved. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this report. Your engagement is vital in the fight against misinformation and division. Stay informed, stay connected, and help us shine a light on the stories that matter.